We're at the Manx Museum at the World War I exhibition. We're actually inside the exhibition here. Now, generally at a museum you would say hands off, but this exhibition is quite special. How is this different?
Well, this particular part of the exhibition is called the Exploratorium, and it's a hands-on area where we envisage that children, family groups will be able to come and handle real objects, not necessarily First World War objects, but objects that are real of that or of the equivalent era, and they can get a feel for the weight of them, try on replica uniforms, and experience what life was like from those times, rather than just simply telling children or adults what it was like.
Because generally, you know, you bring your child to the museum and they're told, keep your hands off, don't touch this, don't touch that. You're actually saying, you know, feel the weight of this, try on a costume.
Yeah, it's all about experience, where, as well as having traditional text panels for people to read in the exhibition. We're also trying new techniques to encourage our visitors to engage with the messages that we're giving, with the stories that we're telling. And in this part of the exhibition, it's very much about try it for yourself. We've got replica helmets that you can try on. As you say, you can try on this replica kit, feel the weight of that, get an idea of what soldiers had to carry during the First World War. So it's a different way of getting those messages across to different audiences.
It's a fantastic exhibition. How did you source the material for it?
Well, we're at the end of a 2-year period now of research and appealing for information. We've asked all sorts of organisations to carry information for us, appeals for people from the Isle of Man to come forward, tell us about their family relatives, tell us what material they might have, photographs, diaries, letters, things like that. So it's been a long process of collating that material, distilling it down, deciding which of those stories we're going to focus on in the different areas in the exhibition, and we're now finally coming to the last little stage, which is putting it all together.
And what areas are you focusing on?
Well, people will probably be familiar with the First World War in terms of the battles in the trenches, and although that's an important part of the First World War story, and we are covering that, we also want to make people aware that this was a war that was fought on the oceans of the world, so there's a section on the sea. The home front was particularly important during the First World War, and especially so in the Isle of Man, where there was a lot going on. And finally, of course, a big part of the Isle of Man's First World War story is internment. So a quarter of the exhibition focuses on the internment story.
Now, you've got a lot of genuine artefacts and items out there, but there are certain things that you couldn't source. The mine, for example. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, well, we've had a lot of help from people who've got family material, but that tends to be sort of small things like medals, photographs, postcards, that sort of thing. What we couldn't source so easily was the larger objects, and we needed an object that really would bring something home to people about the war at sea and what it was like. And we got talking about, wouldn't it be great to have a sea mine, one of these things that you used to see on the seafront many years ago. They've all disappeared now, and through chatting with our technicians, we decided, well, maybe it wouldn't be so difficult to make one of these things. So based on a photograph that we got from the Imperial War Museum of an actual sea mine, we've replicated a 1-to-1 scale model.
Okay. Now, you say in your book that backs the exhibition up, This Terrible Ordeal, that the First World War really dragged the Isle of Man into the 20th century. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. I mean, the First World War is the most important event of the 20th century. It created the 20th century, redrew the map of Europe. It changed people's lives, changed people's relationship with the state, between the social classes, and the Isle of Man was no exception to these huge sweeping changes. You know, the Isle of Man's political system was creaking under the weight and the strain imposed by war, and the old autocratic system of having a lieutenant governor who controlled all of the island's finances, who the Manx people had no democratic means for removal, that system was found to be wanting under the tremendous strain of the First World War. And the more democratic Isle of Man which emerged from the First World War is one that we would recognise today.